Hi, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Batcast, where I, Adam Upper, talk with my buddy Braydon Ketty about Batman, the animated series. And this week, we'll be talking about See No Evil. And no, we're not talking about John Cena. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, Adam. How are you?
I am well. I am well. So is this an episode that you remember seeing before, like in an initial watch of the show?
No, and
Oh, no?
I like this episode, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but I'm kind of glad. I think I would have had nightmares watching this as a kid.
Yeah, I know. I was like, yeah, like actually for me, like I remember this episode being like on repeats a lot. So it was probably one of the episodes I've probably seen like the most and repeats when it was on air on Saturdays and stuff. Yeah. So, but yeah, looking at that, like watching it today, I'm like, this episode could have gone a lot worse, a lot darker
The
on its
animators understood the assignment.
So as I said, this episode is See No Evil. This episode aired February 24th, 1993. So I think this is their first episode to kind of going into the next year, I think, right? Because I think that so far it's been like September, December so far, I think. So it's the 17th episode to be produced, but it was the 56th episode to air. So this is like deep into the run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they buried this one because this is like as dark as it could have gone. This is like a actually pretty good episode. Yeah, because I wanted the wasn't a big supervillain episode. It was just like the villain of the week. And it was a fairly good villain, I think. Really, just him, some guy getting some stealing some tech from work, which was like possibly like the Wayne funded, but not really on purpose, where it was like a Wayne Tech stuff, and then it kind of got canned. I think it was sort of
hmm
thing. But
I want to ask you a question before we get into like the details of this episode.
what's that?
I think that this is the prototype that would eventually become part of Terry McGinnis's bat suit. Because remember, it turns invisible.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, it's quite possible, yeah, because it would have been, if it was under the Wayne Enterprises umbrella, yeah, you definitely could be like, hey, I'm taking that tech and just saving that for future use. So definitely, yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't think about that, but yeah, definitely, because I totally forgot that his suit was invisible, but 100% probably
Probably planted the idea in Bruce's head.
put that onto the back computer for possible future renditions of the Batsuit. But yeah, the episode starts off with like looking down like C Street, and then like there's like a POV type of thing, and then you see like the dog like barking and running away. So which she'd say something like right away, something's up. That I imagine the dog probably wouldn't be able to see like the suit or whatever, because dogs are like infamously probably have like worse vision in theory than people do. So it probably could like smell it and hear the person, but not see it. So yeah, so I could definitely see the dog freaking out and running away.
hmm
And then yeah,
And
and then
that
go
that
ahead.
that shows the villain who the girl who he visits in her room calls Mojo her imaginary friend. I think her name was Kimberly or Kimmy as she's called by her mother. And yeah, we'll just call him Mojo for now. I don't know if that's his official super villain name, but I guess we'll call it for when we're not referring to him by his real name. And she's
Jojo
getting
Jojo.
yeah, I was like, that's gonna stick with you for life. We go to Arkham with that name, man. So Kimmy is talking to Mojo, and he gives her a jewel necklace, and he's saying like, "Don't worry, I'm gonna get you some more." You know, like basically kind of spoiling her. Um, and she says, "Well, the next time you come back, me and mommy won't be here because we're
Oh yeah,
moving." And
you better come back fast with that gift because yeah,
mhm,
we'll be moving soon. Yeah.
yeah, and so he says, "Okay, well." We'll see about that. And so the mom's walking in and thinks that she's talking to an imaginary friend. He's going outside, and I presumably he kicks the can down the road in frustration. So one thing I'm gonna make mention of is the voice actress for Kimmy. So the listeners, if you don't already know this, this took me by surprise when I was looking up the production notes. The voice actress for Kimmy is a young Elizabeth Moss, as in the same Elizabeth Moss who was in the Invisible Man movie. So I don't know if this was like just like an ironic twist of fate, or she got something from her agent, or she wanted to try that kind of project. But yeah, when I looked at this, I'm like, this is actually kind of funny. Like, this is very poetic.
Yeah, because she's like 41 right now, born in July 1982. So yeah, so she would yeah, so this aired like in 93. So probably yeah, made it 1992. So she would have been like 10 years old, 9, 10 years old
Mhm.
when she did this.
Yeah, you got to wonder
So
if
it
this was like
says
flashing back in her head when she was making that movie.
so yeah, so they hired a kid. They can hire a kid actor for this episode.
Not for underdwellers.
Like
Brayden will remember that.
like come on, guys. Like did you learn from that episode? Be like her like we should at least hire somebody. I'm like fine, or hire a kid for one episode. Like fine, that episode that we're going to air like almost last, or to say yeah, fine.
And clearly the kid did well in her career.
Or the episode that is probably the scariest for children to actually hire a child actor for. That's a
That's
good thing to
true.
do.
But one thing that I want to make note of is the animators in this episode, they definitely knew how to play it. Because when you realize the challenge that is, we have to make you aware that this person is there without actually seeing them. That's when you really think of how the process of that would work, it's very well done. Like when they're showing like the window lifting up, when they're showing objects moving, when he's in the fight scenes, especially. Like I gotta give credit to the animators for pulling this off.
Yeah, and they're doing like the probably felt weird doing like plotting out the camera moves and like not drawing in the character in there and stuff, or just like, or they probably just drew it in so they can do it and then just like talk it out, maybe. But yeah, very well done episode, I think, as a whole.
Hmm.
Yeah, after he leaves and closes the window, her mom comes in and he's like, "Oh, who are you talking to?" He's like, "Oh yeah, just talking to Mojo." And then the next day, it shows like a guy walking into like a jewelry expo and goes into the bathroom and then picks out a suit and puts on. Turns out to be Mojo, not in disguise, going into disguise. And I can do the whole thing with like the watch thing, putting like making the suit work. But as soon as you touch the briefcase, it went invisible too. Does that mean like the briefcase is
Oh
made of
yeah,
the
it
same
did.
stuff? Yeah, made of the same stuff, or is it like a like a warp bubble and like Star Trek where you just gotta get close to it, it just envelops it and just makes it part of it, sort of thing.
Well, later on, he
Weird.
covers his car, and you see it kind of peeling off like a picnic table cover blanket, kind of flying in the wind. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
assuming it's wrapped in that because, yeah, I guess he doesn't want to have any evidence
That's
back to him.
yeah, so I guess it's power like the power thing that whatever the watch does. I'll call it watch just because it's on the wrist for lack of a better word. I'll take that.
I'm just
But yeah,
relieved that
so
he wasn't naked like Hollow Man. Would have made
but
this
yeah.
episode really awkward.
uh I didn't want to think about that. Okay.
Yeah, you
But
got
yeah,
Kevin Bacon's ass in your head now.
well, no, I wasn't thinking that. He was like, yeah, he's because he's going to visit the kids, so you don't want to be fucking schlonging it out, fucking visiting your
Beautiful.
kid. So that's so it's a good thing, yeah. So he's like, so he's very close.
Bad mojo.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So yeah,
he's
so
going into the jewelry expo, and you know, there's times where this guy, his name is Lloyd Ventrix, as we find out. There's
yeah,
times that Ventrix shows his intelligence with how he uses the suit and how he's able to, counter move against Batman. But here, he's just openly robbing them. He's
yeah,
like just lifting the cases of the jewels in midair. So like people are looking around, like there's no way you can't see this happening in front of you. You're just
yeah.
drawing attention to yourself.
And then I was just thinking too, like he's in a like it's like a jewelry expo, so there's gonna be cameras there. So it's he walked in normally into the bathroom and then never left because he
Mhm.
comes out like invisible or whatever. So like obviously like if with that like the security guard should have been some security guard should be paying attention to see like hey, all right, there's a guy going to the bathroom. And then, half an hour later, he hasn't come out yet. Let's go check it out. Maybe he's sick. Maybe he's dead. Oh, he's not in here. Okay, what the fuck's going on? So then you think they check it out and be like, all right, go check the cameras. Same thing. You see him go into the bathroom and then not come out. So like, you should have put the suit, like the invisible suit, on before you went into the building as a whole.
Yeah, could have
You
snuck
could
behind somebody as they're coming in.
exactly. Yeah. So you just say because you build a walk in without nobody seeing them, so you can just sneak in and not have to worry about like paying like the $20 to get into the expo, or because that's usually what these sort of things cost or whatever. So yeah. So I don't understand why you decided to change like while he was there before like why you didn't do that before you got there,
But
and
going
then
back
too.
to the bathroom, one thing I want
Yeah.
to mention before we cut to the fight scene, this poor security guard. You see this guy like trying to get in, and he's like biting his lip, like he's got a turtle head poking out, if you know what I mean. Like even when they're robbing, even when the other security guards are witnessing Ventrix robbing them, he's still fiddling with the knob because I guess Bruce Wayne he was there and jumping into the bathroom
Yeah.
and to change, but he's just like, no job is worth me busting my sphincter over this.
No, I just took that as he was just trying to like hide from the friggin' craziness going on instead of having to friggin' take a
Oh no,
friggin'
man, I know
emergency
that look.
crap.
The
Well, yeah,
best part is when Batman slams the door in front of him. You know he's just unconscious and just full of like poo coming down the side of his leg.
and then yeah, and does Bruce Wayne strike you as a guy who would be buying watches from like from like a jewelry expo instead of just going to like a high end jewelry store and just being like giving the entire like display or just
No, yeah.
no.
If this
So
was
yeah,
for
so
charity, maybe, but
yeah.
no.
Yeah. No. So yeah, so he's like yeah, so yeah, so he's like there buying a watch, and then does he take it out with like Bruce Wayne's hand or the dealer's hand?
He takes that out of Bruce Wayne's hand.
Yeah. So your friend does that, and like yeah, that's like yeah, and as you were saying, that's like the second stupid thing of the day is just friggin' just walking around stealing shit. You should have just like waited till it was closed and you could take it, and then they were maybe like, hey, all my stuff is here, and they'd be like, hey, and then you can just disappear and not have to worry. But if you go into the trouble of being invisible, do invisible stuff,
Yeah.
right? I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, he's not realizing the advantages that are being presented to him. You'd think this was his first robbery, but it's clearly not.
Yeah, because like plus invisibility is one of like the top powers that people always think of if they like, hey, if I can have a superpower or have a thing to give me a power, is like flying, telekinesis, and invisibility in no particular order,
Mhm.
right? And and almost everybody's probably like, hey, what would I do if I was invisible? A, we're not being a perv on this podcast. We'll do that later. So the next best thing is, what the
You
fuck would I
dirty, dirty
rob?
boy.
Come on, come on. We were all thinking it, but yeah. So the second thing is, what would I rob? And like I do it, do while people there and not do it visibly. So like, come on, use your imagination, buddy. Don't be so obvious about it.
Yeah. So yeah, Batman chases him outside to I guess it's like a construction site because there's cement. And I love the look on that construction guy's face when Batman's like, I know you're here. And
He
he's
just
just
starts yelling. He's like, "What the fuck?"
and then he sees like clearly Batman is like fighting an invisible enemy, and he's just kind of like, nope, and gets
He
right
just
out of dodge.
yeah, just drops the sandwiches, and that sandwiches like takes off. And then like this third stupid thing, like he saw the sign saying what cement, like he tore it down to walk through it. Like because obviously, like we saw, like right after he does that, like Batman puts some throws a paint on him, and he does adjusts his watch, puts some power through it, and goes and burns it off. Yeah, I'm down with that, but that's not going to work on the cement because A, he's still standing in it, and B, it's a lot heavier, it's going to stick to you. So I imagine just running some extra electricity through it's not going to knock it off. So
And
if you
theoretically, the cement's just going to dry faster on you.
exactly, yeah. So if you're trying to be stealthy, don't fucking walk through cement and have it stick to you. I guess is a
Yeah.
third stupid thing. But so yeah, I guess this guy's not using this stealth technology to his full potential. I don't think he's not thinking this
Yeah.
through.
He has moments where he's really smart and then he's really stupid. Like one smart thing that I noticed was when he's kind of got the upper hand on Batman, he's talking about like how like with all the high ceilings of the area that they're in or high
Yeah,
walls,
you can't, you
he's
can't, you can't.
echoing.
Yeah, you can't get like a fix on him and stuff like that. Yeah, that for a smart thing he's done other than like stealing the fabric or whatever.
Yeah.
Are the only two
Well, maybe
smart
he's
things he's
just
done
not
so far.
smart. Maybe he's just lucky.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's basically
Yeah, so Ventrix goes back to his hideout and he empties his loot and you get an understanding that yeah, Kimmy's actually his daughter.
yeah, yeah, because
And
yeah, there's a picture of her there, and they're like, oh, okay, that's who's visiting, and that's who the invisible person is visiting her and stuff. And he's like mad at Helen, the ex-wife. What if she's one of the 30 Helens from Kids in the Hall? The 30 Helens agree.
I haven't seen Kids in the Hall. I need to, but
Oh man, oh, it's so
yeah.
good. It's good
Sorry, that
times.
joke went over my head. As many of mine have gone over yours. But yeah,
So
Ventrix
yeah, so obviously yeah, so that's probably and then he's like all mad at the ex-wife, so he's probably figuring out that's why, with yeah, the top of the episode, Kimmy said they're moving away is probably just to get away from him because he's probably the vengeful ex-husband by the sounds of it and stuff. So I'm like, yeah, that's good to move away. And plus, with Gotham being crazy and having like a bad guy and a crazy clown guy and at this point, like a clay guy fighting going around and an ice guy, I'd probably move out of Gotham too. I would think at this point,
yeah.
despite how cheap rent is probably is there.
Cheap rent and cheap real estate, probably. Like your odds of your house getting wrecked by the Batmobile or the Joker are probably like 1 in 3. Yeah, Ventrix says he's gonna come after Helen and get Kimmy back. And so meanwhile, Bruce has gone to Wayne Tech to investigate what's going on with it's they see like even if like there's a possibility of somebody being able to use technology to disappear. And is this our first appearance of Lucius Fox?
For in the viewing order, yes, I think so. But as this was like the fit,
Right.
what did I say? This is like the 56th episode to air. So for people that were watching it initially, probably have seen them a few times. But for us, I believe so.
Yeah. So he's
I
there
believe.
while Bruce is there. Lucius Fox, he kind of looks a little
If,
like I don't know.
but for at first, if not the second time, he might have showed up once before. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say Lucius Fox is there. He kind of looks a little like Carl Winslow from Family Matters. I don't know. Maybe that's just my '90s brain going in there. And when the scientist that Bruce is talking to, he's asking about the technology. One of the first things he says, which I'm like, I don't think you're understanding what you're saying, guy, is, well, none of the technology is missing. And if I'm Bruce Wayne, I'd be like, yeah, I'm looking for tech that makes people invisible. Of course you wouldn't know it was missing. That's the point.
Well, it's probably
But
well,
he,
it's not like invisible all the time, but until it's like activated or
you
whatever.
wouldn't know if it was activated. That's the problem. Man, I'm thinking maybe Batman's just kind of jealous that somebody's able to figure out crack the code on invisibility before he did. Think of all the times he could be like disappearing on Gordon a lot easier.
Yeah, or that's secretly how he's been doing this entire time. He's like, oh, somebody else figured it out, so I need to need to put this under lock and key so no one knows how I'm really doing it.
Yeah. I think we kind of got a little bit of an idea of like how like I don't know if petty is the right word, but like how like I don't know, insecure Bruce can be over stuff like that. Yeah, so the scientist is telling him that there's this a doctor, I think it was Carlos or something, or Caro, who came up with this idea of a
Uh,
plastic that could
uh,
use
Caros, I think it was
Caros.
Caros,
Thank you.
Dr.
Yeah.
Caros. Yeah,
Yeah, so he came up with this kind of filament that was able to basically be a cloak of invisibility. So
yeah,
apparently, Karos is dead. And when Batman goes to investigate it in this Wayne Tech lab, he finds out that there's this assistant who was there. I think his name is Goodell.
yeah,
And
good dog.
he's learning a little bit from Goodell about how the suit works. And one of the reasons why they didn't put it into production is because apparently the material, it once it's electrically charged, it turns invisible, but it's actually toxic to people. And he's
Yeah,
asking,
because it turns out to be it was like a plastic is what it is instead of like a initially I thought it was like a cloth or whatever. Yeah, but it turns out to be a plastic. Yeah, so if it wants it, yeah, because to turn it invisible, it's you put it like electric current through it. Yeah, and that makes it very toxic. Yeah, and then he's been what's his face has been obviously wearing it for a while, so he's has a very good chance of being really sick from it. Yeah.
do you think that the toxin from the chemical or from the suit was what actually killed Karos?
Oh, it's like it's quite possible, yeah. If he was
Yeah.
like if he was working on it, yeah. But I didn't really think about that until just now. Yeah, I had forgot actually I had forgotten that he had died. So that's quite possible, yeah. Because did they say how he died, or he just said that he was dead?
No, they just said he was dead just to
Yeah,
have a one less way for Bruce to be able to conclude as to who's responsible. But
but yeah,
they do
so
mention,
but yeah, it's a very good chance that it was probably that then if you're the doctor working on it, kind of like Mary Curie esque the stuff you're working on that kills you.
yeah, you got to wonder how much OSHA guidelines that Bruce's company actually follows. I'm gonna
Or
guess they
or
slide
or he
an
seems
envelope of cash under the table.
or he just seems to be turning a curious blind eye to everything. Who knows? So he's supposed to be like detailed about everything and keep an eye on everything, but stuff for his own company. Oh, they seem to be know what to do themselves. Not look.
Well,
I trust them.
also the guy mentions like there's no equipment missing. Well, considering that quite a bit of Wayne Tech is currently in a cave underneath Bruce Wayne's house, I'm gonna guess you're not making that thorough a search on missing equipment.
Yeah, just don't ask Lucius Fox or something.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So
So
Bruce is sorry, Batman, he's asking Goodell about was anybody else involved? And they mentioned this, I guess he was like a delivery boy. This guy, Lloyd Ventrix, who was an ex-con who was given the job by the parole officer. And this is the one thing I like this episode, don't get me wrong. This is the one thing I find a little bit hard to believe. The parole officer gave an ex-con a job at a optics place where there was clearly not enough follow-up to know what they were working on. Like I worked in a high school co-op at a tool and die shop, and they followed up on me, a teenager, to know like what working conditions I was in and that everything was, above board. This is an ex-convict who's in a place where he has technology around him that can make him invisible. I'm amazed that there's not enough oversight in that.
yeah, maybe it'll show up when knew it, but you think that yeah, if the people working there knew he was like confident, they're like, yeah, don't let him work on the invisible stuff because something like this is going to happen.
Yeah. If Ventrix hadn't been an ex-con, as they had already established, it'd be one thing. Like it's like maybe he was just an abusive husband and stuff like that. But that's where I'm like, okay, you're
Uh, I suppose we shouldn't profile, but we kind of are.
yeah,
Yeah, sorry if there's any ex-cons. We're not.
yeah.
No offense.
You if you're paid your debt to society, good for you, but just don't work at Wayne Industries.
Yeah, so after that night, Batman goes down and talks to Helen. outside of her house, if I could actually talk correctly, to tell her about the plastic, and then that's where she figures out that Mojo is her ex-husband, and then obviously she goes and checks out Kimmy, and she's gone.
I love
And
that scene of her gasping and going, Mojo. And even Batman kind of looks around like, who the F is Mojo?
well, she is at that age, yeah. So like kids that will might have like an invisible friend or whatever. So of course you're like if you have a kid and you're like, oh yeah, this is Mojo, and you're afraid kids just they're in their room talking to themselves. So you're like, of course you're to assume that like yeah, it's just kids being kids talking to themselves or whatever. So I don't think it's that hard to believe that the mom didn't actually believe her that it was actually a person until just then. And then you'd be like, "Holy shit! It was there. Everything was right in front of my eyes. I didn't see it." And you'd be like, you would think
It
you
was
were really dumb.
Mojo all along.
Yeah, yeah. And it's actually now it's starting to make me think of the X-Men Mojo from like the TV Planet or whatever.
Oh, that like big Jabba the Hutt looking guy with the
Yeah,
spider legs.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, dude,
Because he showed up in the most recent episode of X-Men '97. Yeah, so
nice. I think that I remember that villain more than any other X-Men villain in the cartoon. That's amazing. I'm glad he's back.
yeah.
Yeah, so Ventrix, yeah, he's taken Kimmy, taking her to this like abandoned drive-in theater, and that's where he reveals like he's her father and he wants to take her away so that he can look after her. She's
So
having
so
none of it.
so the mom doesn't do the exact same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So when was the last time you were at a drive-in theater?
Oh gosh. I know it was during COVID because that was one of the only
Yes,
ways that we could do the movie theater for a while.
yeah, yeah, same here because that's how I saw Black Widow. Actually, was at a drive-in theater in somewhere in the GTA. Went with a friend who drives, and we were both wanting to see it. And we were like, hey, he was like, hey, it's playing with drive-in. Do you want to come? I was like, fuck yeah, I do. So we went and saw that. And no, we didn't make out because he doesn't put out. No, just kidding. But yeah, yeah. What'd you end up seeing?
Oh gosh.
Do you
Oh, what
remember?
was it? I'm trying to even remember what came out that year because I remember a lot of stuff got pushed back. You know what? I might have seen Tenet. Didn't understand friggin' any of it, but yeah, I think it
Yeah,
was Tenet.
yeah. I didn't see that in the theater. Yeah, I just waited till it came out.
Yeah. But yeah,
But yeah,
Batman's getting at Ventrix because as we've already established, somebody who's messing with kids is pretty much painted a target on their back in
yeah,
Batman's,
yeah.
moral code. And that's where Ventrix reveals as he's jumping into his car to escape that he's covered his car in this invisible material. And what proceeds is one of the funniest things I have seen on this show. Batman
What?
jumping on the roof of the invisible car.
And the guy like reacting, he's like, "Oh, you can fly," or whatever it was.
I
Yeah, that part gets me every time. Yeah, always makes me laugh with the guy's reaction.
Yeah. Now they're gonna be spreading like, like swapping urban legend stories of Batman where it's like, yeah, he can fly, dude. But for some reason he can only fly 5 feet off the ground. And yeah, they get into this chase where they after they smack into a train and jump off the train tracks. Um they happen to land on the same roof. I'm like, I don't know how that was possible, but whatever. So Batman gets into a fight with Ventrix, and actually Ventrix is kicking the crap out of him. Like he is beating the ever living piss out of Batman in this scene.
Yeah, Batman. Yeah, where's your ninja training, Batman? Like, come on, that's why you trained so long with the
Forgot
League of
about that
Shadows.
guy.
Like, what
He's
the
a
fuck?
ninja.
Fuck, like, what? Or did Gotham like you haven't fought a ninja in so long, and did the Gotham just beat it out of you and made you forget?
But yeah, I had this as and another embarrassing way for Batman to die because okay, if you're a person across the street looking out your window and seeing this happen, all you're seeing is Batman just, like get knocked back
Yeah,
like nobody.
just reacting to getting punched. Yeah, and you're like, what the fuck? It'd be like,
Like you're
yeah,
thinking
just like
Batman's ODing on drugs or something.
I know it'd be
Hey,
like that scene. It'd be like that scene in the '89 or the early '90s Ninja Turtles movie where like Casey Jones sees Raphael getting beat the shit out of, and by seeing a bunch of Foot Clan, it's just Raphael just getting the beat the shit out of. He's like, "What the fuck's going on?" I I think I'm gonna stay here instead.
Hey, Sheila, man's on the jingle jangle. Check this out.
Yeah, so in that fight, they hit like a water tower and it like starts leaking, and that finally shows the guy because it's electricity based the suit is, so it starts to short out, and that's how Batman takes him down.
I forgot it was electricity. Dude, what if that killed him?
Well, it's all like from like the watch or whatever, so it's probably not like unless like they've like have like a super powered like watch battery, it's not going to be. I
True.
don't think it's enough to kill him, right? Because
Yeah.
like unless it was like that Flash villain from the TV show where it was like a invisibility belt, whatever. So it probably has like more battery power. So like yeah, something like that. Maybe it would have enough battery power combined to kill him, maybe, but not from a watch.
Right.
There's a
Yeah.
annoying little zap for a second or whatever, but probably not for not much other than that. I don't think.
True enough. Yeah. So Batman, he gives him this line, peekaboo, right before decking him in the face and knocking him on the rooftop. And I just thought, you gotta wonder if Batman's fighting the temptation to kill Ventrix because one, no one's gonna find the body. Two, this guy messed with kids, so he's already pushing his limits when it comes to Batman. And three, the suit was toxic, so he's dying anyway. Batman's just speeding up the process.
He's like, no,
But
just
of
let
course, he's not
him.
going to do it.
So yeah, so it's like a year later, and then it shows yeah, Kimmy talking to herself seemingly in a room, and then her mom comes in. He's like, "Oh, who are you talking to this time?" He's like, "Oh yeah, just Batman." And the mom's like, "Oh yeah, whatever." Then the camera pans up, and he's actually sitting on the roof, and he's like, "Oh, it actually is Batman, just checking up on her."
Which is really sweet. But at the same time, if you're the mom, you're definitely going to be a little creeped out by that thought if you thought Batman was checking in on your
Yeah,
kid.
no, not that. It's just like after the first time, if you hear a kid saying to anybody, I'm talking to anybody, I'm double checking just to make sure if they're actually out
Right.
the window or not. So it is, and is this like the only time like the invisibility suit shows up, or is there like a second time it shows up, or am I just thinking there's a second time?
I honestly don't know. This is one thing that I found interesting, though, as I was looking up some of the stuff on the DC Wiki. There's actually not a whole lot of characters, heroes or villains in the DC comics that have the invisibility power. I mean, there's Shadow Thief. I think Martian Manhunter might be able to do it, but it's actually not as common a power in DC comics that I could find at least. I mean, maybe I just kind of did the man look, but yeah, I was like, oh, no doubt. So no wonder they kind of created up their own character.
Yeah, actually, I can't really think of anybody else that does like flat out invisible stuff either. Yes. So what would you give this episode out of five invisible suits?
I'm going to give it 3.5 out of 5. The animation is one of the best selling points of this story. It's a straightforward story and easy to keep up with, but I really am impressed that they were able to do it in a very genuine way. It feels like you're actually taking an account of the physics of how like this kind of story would work. And it's a actually pushing the boundaries of being really spooky. Like it's kind of like a Batman Goosebumps episode. How about you?
I think I give this episode 4 out of 5 invisible suits. I think, yeah, because like I said, like it was really well done episode. It's a good villain. It's not like a super villain. It's not like the Joker or like Mr. Freeze or the Riddler or anything. It's just like the guy who just happened to got lucky and stole some stuff. And except for him using it fucking extremely poorly, like he's not really overly smart. Yeah, like that's a really good story, and I think I get 4 or 5. I think I'm giving it. So you said there was something crazy in the projection notes or something about this show, or did you already mention it?
Already mentioned it with Elizabeth
Okay.
Moss. I was going to
Okay.
surprise you with that. And then you looked on IMDb, you jackass.
Okay. Jackass. All right, that is the episode for the week, folks. Thanks for joining us in the Batcave to talk about Batman the Animated Series. Next week's episode will be We Were the Grey Ghost, another classic episode of the series. And if we're lucky, we might have another super special guest. You can follow us on Twitter/X at Beyond Batcast, on Instagram at Beyond the Batcast, and you can just follow, rate, and subscribe on all wherever you find your podcast at Beyond the Batcast. And Brayden, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me on Instagram at Alfred is Zaddy and on a Facebook page for the podcast, Beyond the Batcast, where I post lots of Batman related news and lots of my funny or unfunny dad jokes.
All right. And you can follow me at some Chunkman on Instagram. And as I said, thank you for joining us in the Batcave. Thanks for joining us in the Batcave to talk about Batman the Animated Series. Goodbye, good chums. Kapow.